One. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, the irony about this debate is that the very thing Gov side is so worried about is literally what prevents that problem in the first place. It's the whole Obi-Wan and Anakin thing, wherein you literally become the very thing you wanted to destroy or prevent, which is worried that hospitals are going to be left empty, streets unguarded, and homes burning. That sounds a lot like mutually assured destruction, because regardless of what reasons these are for, in instances where the very people who dedicated their entire life to prevent that from happening put it on the line to be able to do it, is exactly where it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, wherein in instances that you have a global pandemic or financial crisis, hospitals do become overrun, like what we saw during the pandemic. Police get away with acts of brutality because they think that these people should be profiled, and homes eventually become burnt to a crisp primarily because these people had other priorities and response time was too slow. Ladies and gentlemen, we think that it's particularly important, and there's a reason why these people go on strike. That's why the POIs that I and Andre have been raising quite early on the round particularly stand, and that I don't think that these people would strike for something that's not particularly important. Meaning, nurses and doctors who go on strike for excess profits of the hospital, going to buy back programs for the corporation or directly into the pockets of management, is exactly what we want to be able to call out and avoid. And we think that this particularly can even explain the impact of such a huge gap between public hospitals and private hospitals in terms of accessibility and in terms of price. This also can even look like police boycotting, having to be forced to racially discriminate and profile against people who look like they're Jews, people who look like they're from the Middle East, or people with a beard like me, wherein you say, may bigote yan, Arabo, taga-Iran, may nuclear weapon yan. These are the fucking instances wherein people absolutely have the right to be able to boycott individuals, and absent that, we think that these people otherwise would take into account that their job's particularly important. A few strategic commentaries of top half thus far. Number one, opening government is contradictory and unclear. Prime Minister says they'll boycott for unimportant reasons. DPM correctly says they'll probably boycott for important reasons. This tension in their case doesn't also respond to what Andre talked about, wherein he particularly mentioned that these people are gonna do it in the particular worst case. And if DPM's response to that is, not everyone's gonna strike naman eh, some will, some won't, then that literally undermines and softens the impact that you're pushing, that these things are going to be overrun. Number two, opening opposition is rather unnuanced and not really specific to the idea of essential work. Note that a lot of their arguments do applying to striking in general. We're going to take that deeper. Thirdly, and most importantly, and this is a direct response towards closing government, is a simple push that political power and negotiation come from leverage. If your union literally does not have any bargaining power, or what Andre mentioned in a POI, you particularly not get allowed to, and there are certain repercussions like at worst going to jail, or softly not being able to literally get the protection from the union, wala kang pangil. There's no particular point. People won't want to go there and join you. There's a huge likelihood that you're going to get union busted, and boo-hoo, those particular people get left in the dust. Mig, my friend, your POI, yes.
When these policemen who get to abuse their power and to do these things, why would they go on strike against this power trip? Why is this the specific case that happens?
Sure. Because there are woke policemen, meaning not every policeman is like some conservative fuck who's gonna go like George Floyd on you, meaning the very people who actually are doing the right thing, who are gonna say we shouldn't do police brutality, are the ones who literally should be able to strike against those particular instances. Meaning, taking your case at their best, that these things are specific to that institution, we are actually able to call out that particular thing and clamor reform, as opposed to that thing perpetuating in status quo. The path to victory of closing opposition is rather simple. Number one, Not letting them strike, in principle, is modern-day slavery, wherein you allow these particular people to get gaslit by the very social contract that the state and them initially got into. Dude, these people didn't spend like 25% of their life fucking studying, going into debt, and taking kinda shitty jobs which aren't like as high paying compared to being some crypto bro, Wall Street investment banker, consultant in McKinsey doing vague stuff. There are legitimate reasons in which they want to do it, and that's exactly the point in which you get reform. Number two, the reason for these strikes are probably valid and important, like what I said in my pre-oration. But here's the kicker. Even if it's not, the Overton window and spectrum of emotional sensitivity exists. Meaning, if someone's gonna go on strike about something fucking stupid, like, I don't know, we didn't have enough food in the pantry, it's kind of bad, or, oh, it's June, we didn't have a rainbow bandage in the ER. Ladies and gentlemen, if they strike for something fucking dumb, that literally becomes the mechanism in which you can call them out and say, hey, these particular people, selfish, these particular people, kinda stupid. As opposed to not letting it happen. And we think the fact that they can do something like that in and of itself becomes a filtering and call-out mechanism to prevent these particular things from happening. Third and most importantly, we think that it's only on our side that we're literally able to get the structural change and reform, like being able to get more hospital beds, being able to push vaccine research even more. Because on their side, if you say that they're so important, we shouldn't let it happen. It only becomes an eventuality that these hospitals are going to get overrun. These houses in LA are going to continue to burn, and that these very police become subject to the very harms that you're worried about, which is something like police brutality and racial profiling, which we think we have to stand for. Ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, it's a free country. People exist in a spectrum and they can be able to go on strike for mid, important, or stupid reasons, all of which become perfectly valid to be able to call out and allow them to do it in order to unlock the benefits and reform that we stand for. We are very proud to stand on side negative.